Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. So for today, even though it's just 1 hour, I still have to utilize our class session because we have 3 more topics to go, right? And obviously with 1 hour, I will try to explain one of the topic for today. So the next topic that I would like to talk about is real estate. Okay, topic number 10, real estate. So the real estate is the type of investment that has both the real properties or the real assets punya features. Okay, because when we talk about investment, if you can trace back the earlier part of the semester, kita dah discuss when we talk about investment, they're going to have two types, two categories of investment. We have investment in real assets, and then investment in financial assets. Okay, so historically, real estate is supposed to be under the real asset lah, sebab it involves physical assets, properties, in terms of residential properties, commercial properties, and so on. Okay, tetapi in recent years, we have the alternative version of investment in real estate, meaning instead of we directly invest in purchasing properties, we can be an indirect owner of the property. Okay, so later on I will share with you the types of investment in real estate. Okay, both real assets together with the financial assets, and what kind of options that we have in terms of investment in real estate in Malaysia especially. Right, but before we go further, let me introduce to you the definition of real estate. So real estate refers to properties, okay, and properties here referring to multiple types, including agricultural. So nowadays, some people like to invest in agricultural properties such as orchard, ladang-ladang, dusun that grow fruits, for example, okay, and the harvested fruits too can be sold, be part of the income, right? And then we have industrial. So industrial ni agak historically sound juga. I think since 1980s, 1990s, the introduction ataupun the starting point of industrialization of the country. So therefore, a lot of property, instead of just focusing on home ataupun residential property, the developers also focus on industrial. So that's why dalam satu-satu kawasan perumahan lah, okay, especially in good area, dia akan incorporate on top of the residential, dia akan focus on industrial property as well. So meaning the area tu akan become a sustainable punya area, meaning people have jobs at the area sebab dia industrial kan, and the people yang kerja that in that particular industrial can live in that particular residential area as well. So so everything can be done within, walaupun mungkin bukan everybody will be at the same neighborhood macam tu, but that's the idea of having sustainability punya concept of combination of industrial dengan residential, right? And then we have commercial. So commercial ni macam-macam lah, including business units, shop lots, shopping malls, tu semua masuk dalam commercial property. Okay, and last but not least, the traditional residential. Okay, historically again, orang dulu investor, bila cerita pasal property, fokus dia memang residential sebab that's the traditional way of making money from real estate, whereby purchase residential property, beli 2, beli 3 biji rumah, and then with the intention of either you rent it out, you sewakan, okay, kepada potential tenants, okay, and then your income datang dalam bentuk rental, or secondly mungkin for the purpose of speculative. So that's why kat bawah ni, the second bullet beritahu, first either you acquire for your own usage or for speculative, okay, investment ataupun speculative. So speculative ni means you purchase at the original price, and then you hope that the price of the property will increase in the future, and the rising of price ni usually can come ataupun can caused by a few factors, okay, especially kalau kawasan tu bagus. Obviously the price of the property will gradually increase in terms of value. Historically dalam Malaysia, generally the price of properties usually will go up, especially kalau kawasan tu membangun lah, unless for some cases, okay, ada memang tempat yang expected to boom the place, the location. However, because of one reason or another, tempat tu mungkin tak menjadi ataupun lambat untuk dia naik. So one classic example, kalau di kawasan surrounding kita, di kawasan Lembah Beringin contohnya, it used to be ataupun touted to be up and coming property, land area, with a medium to high level of properties dari segi value-nya. However, somehow kawasan tu tak menjadilah, so the property tak terjual sangat. Kalau ada yang beli pun at the end, the owner tak bayar pun, and then become a lot of apa panggil lah, rumah untuk dilelong, okay, out for the auctions. So therefore ambil masa lah, and baru recently for the past 1 year or so, then baru ada ura-ura because of new plans for automotive companies want to open up their plants kat kawasan-kawasan sini, dan barulah they start to picking up. But yeah, we still have to wait and see lah. So bayangkanlah siapa yang invest in Lembah Beringin contohnya, kalau dia decide untuk tinggal situ, tak apa, dia beli untuk investment contohnya, tapi that nobody wants to stay there. So bayangkanlah berpuluh tahun your investment, so some yang dah give up and dah try to cut losses, dia dah let go ataupun dia biar rumah tu kena lelong lah, okay. But again, when we talk about investment in property, okay, the most important part is actually the location. Okay, so kawasan yang dah memang sedia ada established, obviously will cost you more lah. Tapi for those who wants to take risk, for example, that are willing to pay less tetapi with potential, yeah, it depends again on especially number one is the developer, sama ada developer tu well known ataupun tak, established ataupun tak, and secondly the infrastructure surrounding that particular area. Okay, so that's real estate in general. Okay, so don't focus real estate ni hanya untuk beli residential property saja. It's actually more than that, right? So as I said, all of these properties, income dia boleh datang dalam bentuk rental, okay, dalam bentuk rental, or it can be in a form of price appreciation. So price appreciation maksud the price of the current market is higher than the original price. So harga yang kita beli katakanlah 200,000, and after a few years, now the price have increased to 250, 300,000. So the price difference would be possibly your profit lah, ataupun the price appreciation. Okay, so before you decide which types of properties suit the investors, you have to take a look at the investors' objectives and obviously analyze the important features of the particular properties, real estate, and try to determine the real estate value, especially when we talk about sub-sale. Okay, dalam property, okay, the terms that we use is either new, okay, new tu macam beli kereta lah, rumah baru, kereta baru, new. Or secondly, kita panggil dia sub-sale. Okay, sub-sale ni kalau bahasa biasa is like a use pun second hand lah, tapi in property we don't use second hand. It's not like cars. Cars kalau kita baru kita kata new car or second hand car kan. Tapi untuk property, it's either new property or a sub-sale property. So sub-sale ni maksud you try to buy from the original owner ataupun from the current owner. Okay, and obviously bila you nak beli tu, most important part bila you dah beli sub-sale tu, sebab kita tak ada kita kena rely on valuers punya estimation lah. So that's why we need to determine the value of the property. Okay, the value of the property. Alright. Initially tadi I mentioned, traditionally when we want to invest in real estate, selalunya kita bayangkan a physical asset, okay, ataupun real asset. Okay, yeah, still one of the option to invest in real estate is by directly own the property. So meaning you, contohnya lah satu developer launch a new project in a new area, you interested with that particular asset, particular property, you pergi visit dia punya show house, okay, and then you decide, okay, this is a good investment, so therefore you bayar booking fees and then apply for a financing, for example, and if the bank approve, you have to pay some down payment, and once the down payment and loans approved, contohnya bank disburse to the property developer, and then akan adalah proses jual signing of documents, the sales and purchase agreement, the legal documents yang lainnya, you have to pay some stamp duties and so on. And once everything's complete, then you are technically the owner of the property under your own name. So that is one of the way how to own a property, okay, ataupun dalam real estate lah. Bear in mind, purchasing a property is not as quickly as purchasing stocks. Okay, beli stocks can be done within minutes. Okay, tolak tepi proses untuk register. Proses untuk register buka account maybe ambil masa 1 or 2 weeks. Tetapi once you dah ada account untuk trade, so the process of buying a stock contohnya ataupun invest in stock market usually will take minutes. You dah bid ataupun you dah set your bidding price, berapa ringgit you nak bayar, buying price tu. Then if there's a match between the selling price from the other party, so bila dia dah match tu, so automatically nanti asset tu akan ditukar kepada your name, walaupun dia akan ambil masa sebenarnya within 1 day or 2, okay, sebab dia ada clearing house yang akan manage benda tu, but technically you can see already the units tu dah under your account, okay. Tetapi bila kita cerita pasal property, especially macam contoh tadi lah, residential ataupun commercial, the process tu can take months, okay, walaupun you dah bayar deposit hari ni, bank akan proses ambil masa seminggu, and then even though the bank dah approve, proses untuk sign the agreement tu kadang-kadang mengambil masa sebab kita melibatkan lawyers, okay. So documentation, it will take some time lah, even though it is new property, okay. Ni tak kira kalau you beli sub-sale, sub-sale can take even longer. So that's the downside of investing in property lah. So it's not liquid, number one, and also it's it will take time. So dia punya process of transferring ownership tu will take time. Okay, but that's one of the option whereby you directly own the property. Okay, but in recent years, as I said, timbul additional options. Okay, so the second option is by buying stocks. Okay, stocks ataupun equity of the companies yang involved with property development. Okay, so you invest in equity of real estate companies. Okay, company like Sime Darby Property contohnya. You boleh beli apa lagi? That real estate companies ataupun property developers. KL Kepong, KLK Properties, Kuala Lumpur Kepong Properties, Setia, SP Setia contohnya. So all of these are property developers and they own properties. So instead of you purchase the physical properties, you can purchase these companies' punya stocks in the stock market. So therefore, indirectly, you are actually own some of the properties. So this is another option. So macam cakap lah, instead of you beli sendiri the property yourself, ambil masa yang lama untuk own, right? The second option of owning a real estate related investment is by buying stocks from these real estate companies. Okay, so ni termasuklah selain daripada stocks, kalau company tu issue bonds contohnya pun boleh dikira sebagai indirect investment. Okay, indirect investment. Cuma kalau bond tu dia bukan equity lah, dia lebih kepada bentuk hutang. Right, kita dah discuss sebelum ni. Okay, so that's the second option. Okay, mungkin some yang mungkin kata walaupun dah invest dalam real estate companies tapi I don't feel like owning a property. Mungkin. Tapi remember, at the end of the day when we talk about investment in real estate, the most important part is how to generate the profit. Okay, mungkin perbezaan dari segi return. Kalau the first option tu, the return when you own it, especially when you own multiple properties, your property can come from again rental ataupun if you wait the price to appreciate. Tapi kalau untuk stocks, price appreciation sama, cuma price appreciation bukan dari segi kenaikan harga rumah tetapi more on kenaikan harga stocks. So still ada element of price appreciation. And another aspect of return comes from dividend. Okay, dia bukan datang dari bentuk rental sebab bila kita invest in stocks, we're going to receive dividend. Okay, so still akan ada dua options ataupun dua form of returns coming from the investment of real estate. Now, kita ada option yang ketiga, the third option. So the third option is by investing in real property trust. Okay, real property trust. Okay, property trust in Malaysia kita panggil dia sebagai real estate investment trust ataupun REIT. REIT. So REIT ni dia punya characteristics dia sebenarnya macam unit trust. Okay, macam unit trust. Topik sebelum ni kita ada cerita pasal unit trust and REIT is actually one of them, whereby it is a form of closed-ended punya funds di mana the buying of the initial REITs will be done with the REIT punya issuer, but when you want to sell, you have to sell it with other investors. Okay, other investors. So again, what would be the return when we invest in REIT, okay, real estate investment trust? Dia akan ada datang dalam bentuk dividend. Cuma dalam real estate investment trust ni, when we invest in this kind of investment, the function ataupun the characteristic of unit trust tu apply dekat sini. Maknanya the trust owner tu akan buka satu pool of fund, and when they have this fund, 51% okay of the fund okay must be invested in real estate. It must be invested in real estate. Maknanya majority of the funds punya value, they have to invest in properties ataupun real estate. So kan kita discuss tadi, kita ada macam-macam properties ataupun real estate. So REIT kat Malaysia kebanyakannya dia datang dalam bentuk number one, shopping complex. Okay, dia datang dalam bentuk shopping complex. We have KLCC, we have Pavilion, and we have Sunways. Yang main lah, yang ada REITs. Okay, so those companies, dia punya REIT tu tie dengan asset dalam bentuk shopping complex ataupun shopping malls lah, kita panggil shopping malls. Ada datang dalam bentuk commercial property, maknanya business unit, industrial, dan ada juga dalam bentuk hospital. Hospital. Okay, hospital. So hospital pun can generate income, especially the private hospital lah. Okay, the private hospital macam KPJ. Okay, KPJ ada dia punya REITs. So income of this trust fund datang daripada mana? Datang daripada rental income. Okay, it will come from the rental income. So tengok paling mudah shopping mall lah. Imagine KLCC, Suria KLCC, kan ada banyak units, ada berapa tingkat lah KLCC, lama tak pergi KLCC lah. 3-4 levels kot tak ingat lah, of KLCC. And as you all know, the rental dekat KLCC obviously in the heart of Kuala Lumpur is expensive kan. So imagine the income yang diterima daripada rental of the tenant. Bayangkan ada banyak kedai kat situ, banyak business owners. They have to pay thousands, sometimes tens of thousands ringgit sebulan. And income yang di-generate tu, dia akan tolak all the maintenance, the management fees and so on. And obviously akan ada profit. Okay, and profit dalam real estate ni have to be passed back to the unit holders lah. So siapa yang beli REITs ni as investor, you're gonna receive rental income yang dah lebihan tu, ataupun the panggil net rental tu, selepas dah tolak all the fees and so on, the profits will be paid back to the investor. So that will be your income lah dalam bentuk dividend. Okay, and dividend policy untuk REITs ni selalunya very generous sebab dia tak simpan. Macam kalau you invest in stocks, the business akan bayar dividend, tetapi dia kena take into consideration dia business next year. Okay, so maknanya akan ada portion yang akan masuk dalam retain earning. And then kalau policy dia mementingkan retain earning yang besar, so dividend you sikit je. Okay, tapi untuk REITs, dividend tu dia tak, ataupun the leftovers tu dia bukan keep a lot for the following year. So selalunya dia akan pass quite huge amount of dividend payout dia lah, dividend payout dia besar. So therefore, it is one of the popular types of investment as well lah. Kalau you tak nak own directly assets dalam bentuk property, you invest dalam REITs. So technically, your exposure tu more on properties juga. Okay, so these are the 3 options. Okay, you kena faham konsep ni je. Then the rest tu sebenarnya you can visualize macam mana kita punya investment tu run through lah in terms of the real estate. So some of the characteristics I boleh simplifykan je ni instead of I'm reading one by one points. Sellability and liquidity dia relates. Okay, karakteristik dia, sellability mungkin agak susah especially during economic downturns ataupun during pandemic contohnya. So nak jual property tak mudah, and also at the same time tak cepat. It's not liquid. Okay, imagine like I said earlier, time untuk you acquire pun makan masa. Ini kan pula bila you have to sell it to another person. And the cost untuk jual dan beli tu pun is not cheap, because it has add-on punya expenses yang you kena tanggung. Antaranya stamp duty. Okay, ini antara additional cost yang some people mungkin tak perasan masa dia nak beli. Bila tengok rumah, okay, berapa harga rumah? Harga rumah RM500,000. Okay, RM500,000 tu bukanlah harga akhir that you have to pay. There will be additional cost on top of that 500,000. Okay, and that the add-ons tu pun bukan murah RM100-200. Okay, dia akan tambah, can be thousands or tens of thousands ringgit. Okay, sebab apa? Sebab the cost tu is based on percentage, and that percentage akan based on the value of your asset. So imagine kalau property tu harga dia RM500,000. Katakanlah property RM500,000, and then dia ada stamp duty. Yang stamp duty dia katalah 3%. Ini price. So kalau RM500,000 dah 3% ni, berapa ni? Sebab 50,000. So ada 15,000 yang kena tambah daripada harga RM500,000 tu. And itu baru stamp duty. Belum masuk legal fees. Salah je kan. Legal fees. Katakanlah 1%. So 1% daripada RM500,000, additional RM5,000 ni. MOT, Memorandum of Transfer. So ada lagi tambah. So end up you kena bayar daripada harga RM500,000 tu additional 20-30,000 lagi. Right? And therefore it's not easy lah to sell a property. And at the same time, it is not as liquid as investing ataupun selling your stocks, for example. So conversion into cash is not as easy as investing in the stock market. And then you have to bear in mind in terms of taxation. If you tak nampak slide So if you intend to rent out your property, okay, the income generated from rental, it is taxable. Okay, under the Income Tax Act, ITA 1967, income tu kena declare, and obviously the income tu you have to deduct all the relevant maintenance of the property. So the net rental tu will be charged ataupun will be considered as taxable income. So income tu you kena declare. Tak kira lah you memang kerja full time property investors ataupun you dah kerja tapi you ada side income daripada property punya investment ni, you have to declare the rental income under your income tax lah. Right, you all belajar tax kan. So this rental kena declare as part of your income, and dia akan total upkan lah dengan all other income yang taxable yang lain. Okay, especially kalau you underemployed ataupun under employment, the employment income yang lain tu akan ditambah together with this rental income, right? And as I mentioned, profitability selalunya datang dalam dua bentuk lah. Okay, kalau you invest directly as an option one tadi, your income boleh datang dalam bentuk rental ataupun capital appreciation, capital gain. Kalau option 2 dengan 3, dia punya return yang pertama bukan dalam rental tetapi dalam bentuk dividend. And at the same time, you have the possibility to get capital gain as well. Cuma capital gain dia bukan dari segi perubahan harga property tapi perubahan harga asset tu. Maknanya kalau you involve in option number 2, the share of the company increase in terms of price. Harga you beli RM2 per unit, sekarang harga dia dah naik RM2.50. So that 50 cent is your capital gain. Sama juga dengan REITs, okay, unit trust REITs. So harga beli X ringgit, dan bila dia dah naik harga, there's a possibility of capital gain as well. Right, so this one I dah cerita tadi, nanti baca balik classification dia ada residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural, and on top of that dia letak kat situ jugalah hotels pun masuk dalam commercial, shopping malls pun masuk dalam commercial sebenarnya, and we have resorts and golf courses as well, termasuk dengan hospital. Okay, boleh masuk lagi tambahlah tambah-tambahan lain, shopping malls, hospitals. Right. Dan dia ada ini classification from banks punya perspektif, dia tak payahlah. Okay, let's talk about title classifications. When you buy a property, okay, you kena bayangkan property ni consists of a building atau apa panggil building lah kan, satu bentuk bangunan ataupun structure, and di atas ataupun di bawah structure tu is a piece of land. Okay, so title ni adalah title on that particular land. So we have one status yang dipanggil sebagai freehold, ataupun bahasa Melayu dia pegangan bebas, freehold. So this freehold will give the holder, which is the owner of the property, the rights untuk duduk ataupun gunakan tanah tu forever. So maknanya sampai bila-bila lah. That's why dia tulis ni perpetually. Perpetually ni maknanya unlimited ataupun ya lah forever. So if you purchase a property, katakanlah you beli residential property with the title status of a freehold status. So bila rumah tu dah habis bayar, technically you can live in that particular house the rest of your time, and then you can pass down to your next generations and so on. And benda tu selagi tak dijual, it will be your property together with the land underneath it. Okay, that's freehold lah. Dia ada juga yang dipanggil sebagai leasehold. Right, so leasehold ni dia berbentuk leasehold apa? Dia macam dengan pajakan lah, whereby usually when you buy a leasehold status land ataupun property, initially dia akan bagi kita 99 years. Okay, 99 years right to use the land. Okay, technically bila you beli rumah, okay, you dah beli dengan property developer, dia punya status is leasehold. Right, so you ambil loan 30 tahun contohnya, 30 tahun. Right, so after 30 years, loan dah habis bayar. So technically, the property belongs to you. So rumah tu you punya lah. Okay, but bear in mind the land underneath it, hak dia masih lagi kekal dengan hak daripada the state. Okay, sebab tanah, hak ehwal tanah adalah hak ehwal from the state, negeri masing-masing. So if you buy a property in Perak for example, so Perak lah yang own, okay, ataupun majlis daerah yang own that land. So you dah beli loan 30 tahun, so you have 69 years lagi left. So for the next 69 years, rumah tu memang you punya, tapi land tu for the next 69 years, you have the rights to use. But what happened after 99 years? Okay, so hak untuk you guna tanah tu bergantung kepada state. So the state can decide what they want to do. Either they renew the lease, okay, they sewa kan basically, they extend the lease, ataupun the state has the right untuk ambil balik tanah tu. So kalau dia decide untuk ambil balik tanah tu, so what happens to you? So you have to leave the property lah. Mungkin dia akan bayar some compensations, but that's their right. And when they repossess the land, then they can decide new development lah. Mungkin dia, sebab dia tengok rumah ni dah 99 tahun, dah not up to current standard, so kita robohkan dan kita buatlah property yang baru kat situ, contohnya lah. So that's the downside of buying leasehold status land ataupun property. So that's why if you compare the freehold properties dengan leasehold properties, freehold sebenarnya lebih mahal value dia. Tapi in the long run, even though it's more expensive, tapi you can see the difference between the peace of mind between holding a freehold dengan leasehold. Tapi kalau those yang tak fikir in the long run, dia fikir, okay, I tak hidup pun 99 tahun. Okay, might as well just buy the leasehold and then let the children or the next generation yang fikir what gonna happen dengan property tu, sebab kita tak akan live beyond 99 years pun, right? So but still you have to consider lah the status of the land. And then ada juga rumah yang bukan landed tapi berbentuk like apartments ataupun condominium. Okay, so bayangkanlah ada satu block of apartments tu ada ramai owner kan untuk setiap satu unit. Satu blok tu katakan ada 100 rumah atas tanah yang sama, takkan 100 owner untuk tanah tu kan. So that's why untuk high rise punya building, they have what we call as the strata title. So strata title ni adalah titles on the individual units on one piece of land. Okay, so dia akan ada satu master title, selalu dipegang oleh developer on the common piece of land. Tapi setiap satu unit yang ada dalam building on that particular land akan terima strata title. So your rights hanyalah on that particular unit sahajalah. Okay. And again, this strata title pun akan bergantung kepada freehold ataupun leasehold on the master title. Okay, sama je lah konsep dia. And then we have the Bumi Putra title lah. Okay, Bumi Putra title. And also reserve title. So this Bumi Putra title reserve only for Bumi Putras lah. And untuk reserve lagilah kita tak boleh transfer to non-Bumis. Alright, so master title tadi dah explain. So the REITs I already mentioned, one of the alternative of investing in properties, instead of you invest directly, you decide untuk invest indirectly dengan owning the investment trust fund. Okay, kat dalam ni dia tak tulis lah. Okay, kejap lagi I try cari . So instead of you invest dengan higher risk of investing of real estate ataupun the actual property, you boleh mengurangkan risiko dengan invest dalam REITs ni. And it is suitable for those yang nak try to gain rental income ataupun dividend. You try to get the price appreciation juga. Okay, and yang paling penting sebenarnya nak mengurangkan sebab when we talk about property investment, you sebenarnya kena hands on. You have to be physically available at the property. Kalau bukan on daily, weekly basis pun kena ada monthly basis. And kalau you tak boleh pergi sendiri, you might have to use a third party ataupun agent untuk tengokkan property you. Okay, because property benda yang physical, you have to visit, kena tengok ada bocor ke tak, ada crack somewhere, you have to make maintenance, kena repair. Kalau ada apa-apa berlaku, then you have to do a lot of things lah with that physical property. And if you can't do it yourself, you boleh hire somebody, and bila you hire somebody, obviously you will incur cost juga. And bayangkan kalau you ada multiple properties. Okay, so it is a physical job, hands-on. So for those yang mungkin tak berminat for those kind of investment ataupun prefer something yang lebih relax and without you know, without that physical requirement yang untuk kena pergi selalu. So REITs is one of the option lah. Okay, sama macam stocks, cuma bentuk investment dia slightly different a bit lah. Cuba try cari Okay. You boleh nampak I punya slide ni ataupun panggil apa? My browser.
Boleh, Doktor.
Yeah. Okay. Ni contoh-contoh REITs yang ada kat Malaysia. Okay, REITs listed on Bursa Malaysia. I tak ingat lah tahun bila ni. So these are among the name of the REITs and what are the portfolios under that REITs. Remember the concept of REITs ni 51% mesti dalam real estate property. But what happened to the 49%? So 49% ni dia bolehlah invest dalam stock ke, invest dalam bond ke. Okay, tapi majority still kena invest dalam property. So contohnya Amanah Harta Tanah PMB. PMB dia punya portfolio retail dengan office. Tapi kena check jugalah, as you all know, PMB sekarang one of the property yang mahal dia adalah Menara PMB tu. Menara 118 tu. Adakah Menara 118 itu part of the REITs? Mungkin, I tak sure, kena check lah dalam website dia. Dia ada Al-Akar Healthcare, Hospital, Nursing College, Hotel. So siapa manager dia? Damansara REIT Managers. Dan dia ada Al-Salam, ada Amfirst, Amanah Raya, Axis REIT, ni pun office, banyak office. Al-Hadarah Boosted REIT, Palm Oil Plantation, Mills, Kilang-Kilang. Kita tengok yang KLCC. Okay, KLCC ada Pavilion, Quill Capital Trust. Okay, termasuklah commercial car park, office, termasuk Quill Mall tu kalau tak salah. Star Hill, Sunway, okay, retail, hotel, office. Cuma tengok kat bawah ni, option untuk those yang syariah compliant sensitive investors, untuk Islamic REIT ada a few options sahajalah. So mana yang ada tanda star ataupun asterisk ni sahaja yang diconsider sebagai syariah compliant, which is KLCC REITs. Walaupun banyak property dalam commercial ataupun shopping ataupun retail tadi, hanya KLCC je yang consider sebagai syariah compliant. So Pavilion, Quill ni semua tak masuk, Star Hill, Sunway pun tak masuk. Okay, ada Al-Hadarah Boosted, Axis. Okay, ni pun nama Al-Salam tapi tak syariah compliant. Al-Akar Healthcare. Itu sahaja yang di consider sebagai syariah compliant. So kalau sebelum ni kita tengok kalau stocks pun nak invest dalam syariah compliant companies. So if you want to invest in REITs, dia ada juga Islamic REITs. Okay, so ni contoh-contoh dia lah. So, how to acquire a property? Okay, so obviously kalau ada duit banyak, you beli by cash lah. Okay, we are talking about a real property. Option 1 tadi option number 2 dengan number 3 tu selalunya memang cash lah. When invest in REITs, when invest in stocks, mostly we use our own money. Yes, sebab the initial capital is not that huge. Okay, beli stock satu company, harga dia RM2 contohnya. So RM2, minimum of one lot is 100 unit. So RM2 darab 100, RM200. So that's your minimum cost. Okay, so that's why option number 2 dengan number 3 tu, initial capital dia rendah. Sesuai untuk semua orang. Siapa yang ada modal yang kecil pun boleh start invest in real estate link investment. Tapi when we talk about option number 1, owning a real property, jumlah capital ataupun modal untuk membeli ataupun acquire asset tu is not cheap. And therefore not everybody can acquire by cash. So option dia macam mana? Option dia kena meminjam lah. Okay, kena pinjam. So that's why we have this end financing of real estate. Okay, and option yang ada untuk kita for general people, general public, selalunya datang daripada commercial banks. Okay, commercial bank. Unless when we talk about government ataupun public servants. So public servant dia ada body yang handle untuk end financing of properties juga. Dia ada panggil apa? LPPSA. Nanti you Google lah. LPPSA. So this is for government. Okay, function ni sama. Give access of financing to the people untuk beli rumah. As you all know, property is always on the rise. Harga dia makin lama makin mahal, especially in the cities area lah. Even dekat Tanjung Malim ni yang tak diconsider sebagai city pun, harga dia makin lama makin mahal. 400, 500,000 expected for this area lah. Tapi kalau kat KL, PJ ke, you can expect almost double of that price. So, just for illustration, katakanlah rumah tu harga 500,000. Okay, 500,000. Okay, bank will expect you to pay down payment. Okay, down payment at least 10%. Okay, 10% is expected for a normal ataupun when we have this deal untuk beli rumah. So kalau rumah tu 500,000, so 10% of 500,000 is 50,000 ringgit. So meaning as a buyer, you kena keluar your own money 50,000 ringgit first. Right? So the balance dia 450,000 kan. Kalau 500,000 tu 10% is 50, so the 90% is 450. So 90% tu dipanggil sebagai margin of financing. Okay, ataupun selalunya kita letak di MOF lah, margin of finance. Okay, margin of finance ni is the ratio between the loan amount dengan the purchase price. So kalau 500,000 is the purchase price, so 90% is your margin of finance. So the 10% will be your down payment. Okay, cuma 10% ni selalunya diberi kalau itu rumah pertama, your first house. Okay, your first house. Kalau you dah beli 2-3 biji rumah, and there are some houses yang masih belum habis bayar sebab loan ni panjang 30-40 tahun kan. So the subsequent purchases, the bank mungkin bagi margin of finance tu lah yang lagi rendah. Okay, mungkin 80, 75%. So katakanlah 80%. So meaning if the margin of finance is 80%, so your down payment would be 20%. So katakanlah first house you dah beli 500,000 and you have to pay 10%. Subsequent rumah kedua, katakanlah harga yang sama. So now instead of 50,000 ringgit, so the second house you kena bayar 100,000 as your down payment. So hanya 400,000 je as your financing. Okay, so semakin banyak rumah you beli on financing, semakin rendah your margin of finance. Okay, so some of this I dah mention tadi. Kindly note that there are some additional costs bila nak beli rumah, and for some, this additional cost boleh masuk sekali dalam your financing as well. Okay, so that's why kadang-kadang bank bagi walaupun 90% MOF, dia akan bagi plus 5 or 10% lagi for additional ni lah. Additional expenses ni, dia bagi tambahan 5 or 10% lagi untuk cover the stamp duty, legal fees and other expenses yang lain. Okay, cuma government always memandang real estate property, especially commercial especially residential, sebab dia melibatkan rumah kan. So rumah adalah sekarang is benda asas yang kena ada untuk everybody lah, untuk every family at least. So some banks mungkin akan bagi up to 100% juga. 100% financing, especially for first time buyer. First time buyer, pembeli pertama. So that's why kadang-kadang selain daripada banks, the government, especially the state government pun akan offer rumah pada 100% financing pada harga kos yang lagi murah. Macam rumah, kalau yang duduk Selangor pernah dengar kot, rumah Selangorku. Kalau dekat KL ada rumah wilayah, rumah WIP dia panggil, rumah wilayah persekutuan. So those are promotions ataupun initiatives from the government lah untuk memudahkan people to own a property. Walaupun bukan niatnya untuk invest, tapi by owning a house, technically walaupun you duduk for your own usage kan, technically it is still considered sebagai investment. Walaupun bila kita buat calculation tu, your own property tu tak masuk sebagai investment lah, sebab your income bukan datang dalam bentuk rental, they just hoping for the price appreciation. But somehow, if you want to move on to another property in the future, so rumah tadi tu sebenarnya boleh jual untuk dapat profit. Okay, so government pun ada dia punya initiative with cagamas juga. Okay, and cagamas ni can be used either directly or indirectly, sebab kadang-kadang cagamas ni dia deal dengan commercial bank lah, dengan commercial bank. And then the rest ni tolong bacalah benefits of the end financing. Sebab end financing ni obviously akan memudahkan lah proses to own the property, because if we don't have end financing option and harapkan cash saja, so memang almost everybody akan decide untuk menyewa sajalah. Okay, so maknanya orang yang betul-betul kaya je yang mampu beli, and therefore dia beli and then dia sewa kan. So they are the one yang akan control the property market. So in order to avoid that, we need this financing lah, and financing, and that's why dalam and financing untuk property ni, tempoh pinjaman dia selalunya tempoh jangka masa yang panjang lah, selalunya between 30 to 40 years of financing 30 ke 40 tahun. Alright, so kalau you ambil yang government tadi, PSA tu tadi lagi, dia boleh drag, okay, walaupun nampak macam tak logik dia boleh drag sampai umur you 90 tahun, 90 years old. Okay, kalau commercial bank selalunya sampai 65, 75 tahun je. Kalau commercial bank tapi kalau government tu dia boleh tarik sampai 90 tahun. Okay, so maknanya dia akan mengurangkan your monthly installment. Okay, so yang ni nanti tolong baca. With that, the important parts of property ataupun real estate ni tadi, the types of investment, you boleh invest dalam 3 bentuk, either directly by owning the property outright, invest in companies ataupun stocks of the real estate companies, the property developers, or number 3 is by investing in REITs ataupun real estate investment trust funds ataupun real estate investment trust. Okay, and obviously ada pros and cons based on my explanation earlier. So basically that's the end of topic number 10 lah. Okay, so we have 2 more topics to go. So hopefully kita akan habiskan everything by tomorrow kalau sempat habis. Kalau tak sempat habis, we still have next week lah untuk cover but I will try to finish everything by tomorrow. Okay, itu sahaja for today. Thank you very much and insyaAllah I'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright, Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Doctor.
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 Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you.